You get to the end of your day and you struggle to feel a sense of satisfaction, to feel fulfilled, to feel joy, to feel happy, to feel good about your day. It's because the love you give to yourself is conditional. And maybe it's been that way for a really, really long time. You work really hard to try and earn the right to feel well. And so when we don't feel well, we think, well, maybe I just need to do more. Maybe I just need to try harder. We find it hard to sit still. We try and find something to do, something productive to do. And it's not your fault that this is the way that you subconsciously function. Our society runs on conditional love. Our parents and our parents' parents were most likely raised with conditional love, you included. And that doesn't mean that your parents don't in their heart unconditionally love you. But unconditional love is an action. It's a behavior. It's not just a feeling. And in this episode, I want to unpack this with you so that you can have a powerful perspective shift on why you feel the way that you feel in the evenings, so that you can help yourself to shift that and feel more at home in you. As always, I'm going to give you something tangible to work with by the end of this episode, and I'm going to do something I've never done before on this podcast. I'm going to share with you a diary entry I made on the 21st of July, 2026, that shares the raw truth of what's going on here from my personal experience and perspective. Plus, it's also going to be a demonstration in the way that you can use writing or journaling to help yourself to genuinely process what it is that you are experiencing. This is episode 127 of Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling. My name is Rafaela Marie. I am your host. I've healed from 15 years of chronic skin picking through treating it like an addiction and learning how to feel my feelings. This is about addressing the root cause of why you engage in this behavior so that you can create long-term sustainable change. And everything that I know, I share with you in this podcast. If you appreciate the work that I do here and you want to support me in supporting more people inside this community, make sure you hit like and subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and leave your comments down below. Any way that you interact with this podcast really helps to push it out to more people who maybe really need to access this. And if you want more support yourself, if you want to feel deeply seen, heard, and understood, if you want to receive tailored insight into the reason why you pick, pull, and bite at your body and the tangible steps you can take right now to move forward, I would love to invite you to share your story with me. Not only have I healed from 15 years of chronic skin picking, but I am now a coach dedicated to helping you and other people inside this community to do the same. And through sharing your story with me, you get direct access to my brain and support. So if you would love to take advantage of that opportunity, go ahead and click on the link in the show notes. In July 2026, I spent 7 days doing nothing in my evenings except sitting with myself and journaling. What inspired me to do this is something that so many of us experience. I even did a poll on Instagram to ask, how do you typically feel in the evenings if you were to just sit in silence with yourself? And 92% of people said how they felt was a combination of sadness, guilt, restlessness, dissatisfaction, frustration. And if there is one thing I've learned when it comes to discomfort, if we are experiencing chronic discomfort, and I mean in the emotional sense, if we are experiencing chronic emotional discomfort, what we need to do is turn towards it, to be with it. And this is challenging because most of us have never been taught how to just be with how we're feeling, how to be inside that discomfort and trust that we will move through it and not get stuck and drown in it. Because the reason why we're afraid that we'll get stuck and we'll drown is because when we were children, we didn't have support in navigating these really intense, scary emotions. Because emotions are scary and intense. They, as an adult, are difficult. They are even more difficult for a child. But we didn't have the support that we needed at the time to actually move through difficult emotions and understand them. Neither did your parents' parents or your parents' parents' parents. This is not an opportunity to blame and shame those that you love. This is simply an opportunity to embrace the truth, to turn towards the discomfort. And so that's what I did for 7 days, because during this period of life, my business in helping this incredible community heal has bloomed, which is amazing. But it also meant that it was an extra amount of work, plus still working weekends at a restaurant, And so there was a lot happening, there's a lot happening. And so I recognized, as much as I would like to just sit and watch Netflix in the evening, I noticed that it was just building this deep frustration and dissatisfaction and discomfort inside myself, and it was impacting my sleep. And I realized I need to just be with myself. I need to just be with this, because there is nothing that I can achieve or do that's going to make me feel differently. And what I learned from that experience is that we very much use our emotions as currency. So let's unpack this. What is going on here that actually prevents us from feeling well in ourselves? And it's like I mentioned before, it's conditional love. Conditional love means that we only extend kindness and gratitude and appreciation and gentleness and understanding. We only extend connection if that person behaves in a way that we find is deserving of that connection. We give ourselves conditional love. We struggle to be kind and appreciate and feel compassion and feel gratitude for ourselves unless we behave and perform in a way that we believe is deserving of goodness, is deserving of kindness. And if you find that in the evenings you're feeling that frustration and heaviness and sadness and guilt and dissatisfied and unfulfilled, this is most likely what's going on for you. Because then comes the thought, okay, well, what can I do to try and make myself feel better? If I don't feel satisfied after a hard day, then maybe I'm not doing enough. Unconditional love is, oh, I had a rough day. I made some mistakes. I haven't been perfect. But I still feel a softness towards myself. I still want to be with myself. I still think I'm a good person. And I still think that I deserve kindness and love. And this isn't just a thought process, it is a felt process. Because maybe you're thinking, yeah, but I get that. I believe that. I think that. But do you actually feel it? Because it's a felt process, not a thought process. This is why positive affirmations become toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is trying to mentally convince ourselves to feel differently. The reason why we give ourselves conditional love is because we received conditional love in our childhood. And again, this isn't to blame your parents. And I can even say that for my parents, I do believe that they love me unconditionally, despite all their flaws. And my parents are definitely, I experienced a lot of trauma and abuse in my childhood. I didn't have an easy childhood. I am not someone who can say I had a good childhood. I had moments, but in a whole, my childhood was not something that I would wish on any person. My parents were deeply flawed and hurting people, and they created a lot of pain in those around them because of that. And it's taken me many years to work through the anger and the resentment and the hurt and the grief and the sadness that has been a result of that kind of childhood. Even in saying that, and I can only say this because I have grown and healed through so much, even in saying that, I can know in their heart, they did love me unconditionally. But unconditional love is a behavior. It's an action. It's not just a feeling. And most of us have not been raised with unconditional love. We raised with conditions, because love is communicated and expressed and felt through connection. When we feel connected, we can access that feeling of being loved. But oftentimes, this is what a lot of us experience, and it's not just in families, it's in society, it's in the school systems, is that if you don't behave a certain way, if you don't get a certain result, if you don't do a certain thing, then you don't get the connection that you're craving. You're not noticed or appreciated unless you're doing something helpful, unless you're being good, unless you're in a mood that is pleasant for other people. If you are being difficult, if you make mistakes, if you're in a bad mood, if you aren't being helpful, then you don't get the connection that you're craving. We struggle to access the love and the appreciation. And so we learn, okay, for me to feel loved, to feel connected, I need to be more than who I am. I need to work really hard to receive that. That is why unconditional love is a behavior, it's an action. Because unconditional love says, you're in a really bad mood and I'm here with you. You're angry and I'm here with you. I'm not sending you to your room. I'm not telling you you're being a bad kid. I'm not shutting you down and yelling and using my anger to squish your anger. I'm just being here with you. And I'm here to give you a hug if you need it. I'm here to hold your hand if you need it. And if you don't need and if you don't want any of that, I'm here to just be present with you. Or you made a mistake, that doesn't make you a bad person. You spilt water on the floor, you spilt your food on the floor, you broke something. That's okay, mistakes can happen. You're not a bad person. We're going to clean this up now together. Or you didn't excel in your class, you didn't get great grades. Let's talk about that and understand what's going on for you. Most of us didn't receive this kind of attunement and curiosity and connection in moments when we were not perfect. And what this does is that it teaches us that to feel well, we need to work really, really hard for it. Connection with another human being brings in a sense of safety. Connection equals safety. Love, affection, attention, connection is safety. Safety tells us everything is okay and I can relax. I don't need to think so much. But if you receive conditional connection, then that feeling of safety, that feeling of everything's okay, I can relax now, was only accessible when you were trying really hard, when you were exceeding, doing more, being good, being in a mood that's easy for other people. And so we start to put conditions on feeling safe and well within ourselves. This is when emotions become currency. And we work so hard day in and day out, not just to earn money, but in the hope that we might earn some joy, some satisfaction, some fulfillment, maybe just some rest, some appreciation. And when we get to the end of a really hard day and we don't feel that way, and we have tried really fucking hard, but anyway, we feel anxious, restless, guilt, dissatisfaction, sadness, heaviness, then that can be really confusing and frustrating. Because when we hold this belief of conditional love, then the answer, subconscious answer to that is, well, I mustn't have tried hard enough. I mustn't be good enough. I mustn't have done enough today to deserve, to have earned feeling well in myself. And so sitting and being still becomes really hard. We got to get up and do something. We got to think of the next thing, think of the future, think of something else that might help us get to that place where we finally feel well. And then fair enough that you don't feel good about that at the end of the day, because you have been trying so hard. So if it were true that working hard and being good and overachieving or being quote unquote perfect, if it were true that that is what actually got you, that you could earn joy and love and connection and safety and being able to relax through your efforts, then yeah, fair enough, you feel frustrated. Fair enough that it weighs on you, because then it just feels like it doesn't matter how hard I try, it's never enough. Doesn't that sound familiar? Emotions were never meant to be currency. They were never meant to be used as currency. Emotions are a language. They're meant to be experienced and understood and used to build connection with ourselves and with the world around us. They were never meant to be commodified. But when we do that, we start to trade our time, effort, our life in order to feel good. And when you hear it put that way, it makes sense that you don't feel good. If your effort isn't enough to get you those feelings that you want to feel, then we're going to find ways to simulate that feel-good feeling. We eat, we pick, pull, and bite at our body, we smoke cigarettes, we drink, we binge watch Netflix, we escape into quick fixes and dopamine-driven behaviors. Because while we can't force joy and fulfillment and appreciation and gratitude on ourselves, we can buy dopamine. We can buy a subscription. We can buy some sweet treats or food that feel good. We can go and pick, pull, or bite our body for an hour. This is what I mean by our society runs on conditional love. We wouldn't be so addicted as a society if we learned that emotions were not currency. They're a language that we want to become fluent in, and to become fluent in them, we must allow ourselves to be present and actually experience them. But it's very hard to do that if we think that feeling a certain way means that, well, I haven't worked hard enough. I'm not enough. I haven't done enough. Of course, you're not going to want to sit there and feel that. So that's one of the big reasons why we can't relax at the end of the day. We've turned emotions into currency that we have to work really hard for. The problem is that we can't command ourselves to feel a certain way through hard work. So what do we do from here? How can we help ourselves to begin to give ourselves unconditional connection and love? How can we start to shift our perspective? Something we want to learn how to do is to sit and actually breathe and be with our emotions. The past few episodes have been all about that. So go ahead and listen to any of those. I've also done many episodes on how to actually regulate your emotions. We want to learn how to sit and breathe and be inside our body. That's super important. But then how else might we be able to actually sit and process and just be with what we're feeling instead of judging it, instead of trying to make it go away? This is what I did when I spent 7 days just being with myself in the evenings. No distractions, just my journal and my feelings. I want to share with you a very unique way of journaling. I'm going to share with you a personal example. I'm going to read something that I wrote from my own journal. I'll break that down for you afterwards as well. But there's also 2 questions I want to give you that you can ask yourself at the end of the day. These questions give us access to a powerful perspective shift that can just lift the weight of that feeling of, oh, I feel like I haven't done enough. Why do I feel this way? And these 2 questions give you access to a powerful perspective shift. And they're very simple. We're first going to start with the journaling though. And if you are open to it, I encourage you to set yourself 3 days, 5 days, 7 days of just being with yourself, no distractions. And I guarantee there's going to be a big part of you that's like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds horrible. But with this journaling practice, it will give you a way to actually process what you're feeling and even turn it into art and build a better understanding of what's happening for you. There isn't a lot to explain with how to journal in this way. But the important thing to keep in mind is that the focus is on the experience you are having within your body. And we want to start with describing that. So a question I ask myself is, if this emotion could come out onto the page, how would it arrive on the page physically? Almost like a creature coming out of my body onto the page. The reason why this can help us is we start to get curious. We get curious of, well, what is the sensation that I'm feeling inside my body? And how would that sensation become tangible inside this book? And the ways that I've sometimes described how a feeling that I'm having will come out onto the page is it would tear up this book and eat it. It would roll onto the page as an electric ball and light up the words. It would burn the book. It would scurry onto the page and hide in the binding. Every single one of us has a creative part of our mind. This is a way for us to access that curiosity and actually have fun and explore what we're feeling, which is so effective, especially if what we're feeling is very uncomfortable. So explore, that's where we want to start. And that's where I start when I'm going to read out my journal entry. And then from there, you just want to continue to get curious and explore and describe, and then just see what comes up. Sometimes nothing really comes up and you just explore and describe it. Nothing else happens. Sometimes more comes. It helps you to connect to an inner wisdom or intuition, an understanding. You're starting to decipher and understand the language of your emotions through curiosity and creativity. So let me read out this diary entry and you'll get a really good understanding of what I've just described here through this, and then you'll be able to try it out yourself. And so here's how I started this journal entry. I wonder what shape this wants to take. It doesn't flow. It's stubborn, like the stone of the mountain in front of me. It's grating and rough. It cares less about this moment than sadness does. I say that because the day before, I explored sadness through this method. It's headstrong, a down-to-business kind of energy. It's the feeling of roughly grabbing a child you've grown tired of hearing whine. There's a desperation to it, a yearning, or at least that's what I think I notice. This makes me just want to drop my head against the table and groan. Do I really have to sit with this? What else is there to do? There is nothing to be done or completed that will satiate this insatiable hunger to consume. Consume my attention, consume my time, consume my emotions, consume my achievements, consume my life. This part, I think, is very important and relevant to just highlight, because when we use conditional love, it consumes our capacity to appreciate everything we've already done and achieved. When we complete something, we just move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. It consumes the satisfaction we can actually get out of life in the moment. The only thing to do is to be with it. Only then will it stop consuming. There is a distaste for life here, which makes sense because it wants to do rather than be. The things that have life, that are alive and living, it detests because it doesn't yet have a life of its own. It's searching for it in consumption. It's that gripping and clenching in my stomach again, that heaviness in my chest again. How long do I need to sit with this? And immediately another cuts it off, as long as it takes. They're like bony hands, bony white hands gripping around to the front of my stomach and digging their decrepit nails and knuckles into the soft flesh of my bowels. No wonder I've been constipated lately. It's interesting when you stop trying to enjoy a moment and just feel how you feel. You find enjoyment in it. There just maybe isn't any joy. Maybe this is what people mean when they say acceptance. I realize how much we try seeking joy and we confuse it with pleasure. Pleasure we can harness and simulate. Joy, on the other hand, is met in presence. True presence cannot be simulated or commodified. It's something that can only be found within an individual and must be found by the individual. There's comfort in this presence, but comfort in the way it feels when you're hurting, but someone is there to hold your hand. Presence doesn't take away the pain. It just helps to ease the flow of that energy so you don't feel so alone. To seek only joy and ease for your evenings is like painting a canvas only with white. Should I not feel joy and happiness because I've done a good job today? We try to use our emotions as currency, bartering our time, energy, and self-worth for the chance of a fleeting moment with happiness. The hussy. What if, after a successful day of effort, you feel sad, agitated, unfulfilled? Does that make the day's efforts no longer worth it? Like working an 8-hour shift and your boss just decides not to pay you. Would you give up at that? Or would you decide that tomorrow you're going to try even harder? I've done both many times because I held on to the hope that one day with enough effort I'd get a big payout, big enough that I could finally relax and stop trying so hard. But happiness is not a currency. Try as we might to force it into our hands so that we might consume it to our heart's content through the apps on our phones, the food we mindlessly eat, the subscriptions we cling to, and the purchases we desperately make, all in the name of self-care. Because I worked hard and deserved this happiness, when happiness was never a currency. It's never been something to be earned. Just as feeling sad or lonely or agitated at the end of your day is not a measure of success or failure, neither is the absence or the presence of happiness. I sit here with the clenching ebbing in my stomach and the ache in my chest fading, and the art I've created out of this emotion laid out before me, formed into words. And I end my day not happy, but grateful, satisfied, and full of meaning and fulfillment. Because I've let myself feel deeply. And I think this might just be the point. This is what I mean when we can use curiosity and the creativity and the power of our words to allow ourselves to connect to and process what it is that we're experiencing. Now, every time I journal, it doesn't necessarily turn into that. Sometimes I'll write a few sentences, and sometimes moments like this will happen well, I will write pages and pages inspired by this emotion. And exactly this was the lesson. This was the message from that frustration that I was feeling when I first put my pen to the page. Your emotions are messengers. They have a story to tell. They have something to give you. And maybe it's just a moment of presence. Maybe it's something more. But we can't know until we actually sit with and connect to and get curious for the sensations that we're experiencing. And a lot of the time we jump to trying to logically figure it out. It doesn't work that way. This way of journaling, using that prompt, how would this feeling, these sensations that I'm experiencing inside my body, how would that come out onto the page? And we find a way to describe, and we take time to find the words that we want to use to describe. I sometimes even Google words and synonyms, looking for the word that matches what it is that I'm feeling. And that process in itself helps us to regulate and process. So this is a beautiful tool that we can use to experience what we're feeling. And it's the experience of allowing yourself to feel deeply. That is what gives us a great deal of satisfaction and fulfillment. Your physical effort in life, it will be hard to access the fulfillment and satisfaction and joy in that if we're unable to be present and feel deeply with ourselves. This is a beautiful doorway into being more present and accessing that and letting go of that conditional love, letting go of the belief that I feel bad, therefore I haven't done enough. And I want to give you a couple more questions you can ask yourself to remind you of this. If you're feeling that heaviness or that agitation, restlessness, frustration in your evening, is ask yourself these questions. What if I've done nothing wrong today? What if no one is mad at me? And repeat that over and over and over again to yourself. Because again, a huge driver of that conditional love is the belief that we have to be perfect and we can't upset anyone. And if we can be perfect and not upset anyone, then we'll be okay. We'll be loved, we'll feel safe, we'll feel connected, we'll be appreciated. What if I've done nothing wrong today? What if no one's mad at me? And if you decide to try out this way of journaling, please do send me a message or leave a comment. I would love to hear if this is helpful and useful to you. This is a process. You're not going to be able to undo generations of conditional love in one day. This is a process of deciding to turn towards yourself and meet yourself in that discomfort, and to remind yourself that the reason why you feel this way is not because someone's mad at you. It's not because you've done something wrong. It's because you're human. As humans, we feel emotions. And our only job is to give ourselves space to actually experience them and to not judge them and make assumptions about why they are there. Because odds are your judgment and assumptions are not accurate. It's always very surprising to do this kind of journaling exercise to see what actually comes up when we stop and we set the judgment and the assumptions aside. It can blow your mind what comes out onto the page. You are such an incredibly interesting human being. And it is an honor to be able to explore your mind, to explore your personal experience of this life. And you get to be the one to do that. And yes, it can be hard, but there is deep satisfaction and fulfillment and meaning in knowing you deeply. So take this as an invitation to get to know you deeply, to explore, to experiment, to get curious. Who knows what you will find and what adventures you will go on. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next Tuesday for the next episode of Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling.